everyone, so today's video is going to be my makeup inventory for all of my eyeshadow palettes, and I do have 60 eyeshadow palettes here. Yes, 60. So I really didn't think I had that many, but pulling them all out of my drawers and getting them all together, yes, I have 60. So this is gonna be a pretty long video. I will try to go through the palettes kind of quickly since we do have so many, and I did kind of separate them mostly by brand. So I'm gonna start off with all of the brands that I only have one palette from. So the first one is the Huda Beauty Topaz Obsessions. And this is probably one of the first like higher end palettes I got from like Sephora. And I definitely do need to get more use out of this. The next palette is the Stila Eyes Are the Window Shadow Palette in Mind. And this is an all matte palette, and I haven't gotten much use out of this, probably because it's all mattes. And you'll see a lot of these palettes I haven't used very much. And that's the main reason I started my YouTube channel and all of my project pans and everything, really trying to use the makeup I have. And I'm also on a no buy right now because I just want to use all the makeup in my collection because I know I have enough to last me and I don't really need any new products. I also have the Jeffree Star Mini Breaker palette, and this is a beautiful palette. I love the packaging, and this is one of my more brighter colors or palettes, and I do really love this palette. This is the only Jeffree Star palette I have, and I am interested in getting more. Then I have the Too Faced Natural Eyes palette, and this is just a really neutral palette. This will be really good for like traveling because you really have all the shades you need to do any neutral look. Then I have the Milani Pure Passion palette, and this is a really beautiful neutral warm palette, and I do also need to use this a lot more. Next is the Marc Jacobs Scandalust palette, and I do really love the shades in here, and I would definitely get use out of all of these, and this is probably one of my only really luxury products. Then I have the Colored Rain Queen of Hearts palette. This is one of my favorites. That is just like a slip that goes over it, but the actual palette is like matte black, and this is another beautiful, more neutral palette again. But I do really love this formula, and the shades in here are beautiful. Then I have the Alamar Cosmetics Reina del Caribe palette. Don't judge me for that pronunciation. But this is also a really pretty palette. This came in a BoxyCharm, and I was super excited to get this because I love supporting like YouTubers and smaller brands. Then we have the Dominique Cosmetics Celestial Thunder palette, and this also came in a BoxyCharm, and I haven't used this much. I do definitely need to get more use out of it. And then another BoxyCharm palette is the Ace Beauté Grandiose palette. This is another really pretty neutral palette. Wow, actually a lot of these palettes are from BoxyCharm. Another one is the Pure Festival palette. And this is really pretty because it has some pops of color, but you can also do a really neutral look with this. And then we have the Butter London palette, and this is beautiful packaging as well. And there are some really unique shades in here. Then I have the Crown Glam Metals palette, and these are all metallic shades, but they are really good quality and they're super metallic. Next I have two of the little Kaja trios. This is in the shade Toasted Caramel, and then I also have the shade Rosewater, and these are just really pretty like shimmer shades. So these are more like lid toppers rather than like intense metallic shades. Then from Natasha Denona I have the Mini Sunset palette, and I also have the Sunrise palette, and this palette is gorgeous. I do really love this. Then I have a couple palettes from Tarte. The first one is this Rainforest of the Sea Volume 3. So this is mostly just metallic shades. And then I also have the Tartelette in Bloom. And this is probably one of my oldest palettes, but it's just, again, a really neutral, pretty palette. Next I have a couple Wet n Wild Color Icon palettes. This one is in the shade Not a Basic Peach, so this has some more brighter shades in it. And then I also have Rosé in the Air, which is a dupe for the ABH Modern Renaissance palette. Then I have a couple Juvia's Place palettes. I have the Nubian, which is an everyday neutral palette, and then I have the Nubian 3 Coral palette. And this has some really pretty silver tones in here as well as peachier tones. I also have a few palettes from Dose of Colors. So First we have the Baked Browns, which is just their like 5-pan all matte shades. And then I also have the one in Marvelous Mauves. And this is really sad, but I haven't even dipped into this once, so I really need to get more use out of this. And then one of my favorite palettes is the Dose of Colors Friendcation palette. And I do have a Shadow Saturday series look with this palette, so I'll link that for you guys. Next is Violet Voss. So I have the Essentials palette, which came in a BoxyCharm. And I do really love Violet Voss shadows, especially their matte formula. Well, and their metallic formula is really beautiful as well. And then I have the Laura Lee palette. And then I also have the Holy Grail palette. So again, this is just all neutrals. Next, from Urban Decay, I have their Naked 3 palette, and this is one of the more recent additions to my collection, I guess. I got it for my birthday this year. And then I also have the Born to Run palette, which is a more colorful palette, and I'm sure all you guys have seen this. And then probably one of my oldest palettes in my collection is the Vice 4 palette, and I did get a lot of use out of this when I first got it. Then I have a few palettes from BH Cosmetics. First is the Shan XO palette. So this has eyeshadows on one side, and then you flip it over and you have 9 lipsticks. So this is a really cool palette, and I do really love that she created this. And I have been following Shan XO for a very long time now, and I'm pretty sure this isn't available anymore, but I think she came out with a second collaboration with them. I'm not too sure. And then I also have the Carly Bible palette, which is a beautiful neutral palette, and these highlighters down the bottom are super intense and really pretty as well. And then I also have the Nouveau Neutrals palette, which is a really pretty, more peachy summertime palette. Next, from Morphe, I have the 35O. And then I also have the whole Jaclyn Hill collection. So this one is Ring the Alarm. And then we have Bling Boss, which is a more purple toned palette. And then we have Dark Magic, which is more green tones. And then we also have Armed and Gorgeous. And then I also have the Jaclyn Hill palette, the original palette. And then from Morphe as well, I have the 39S Such a Gem palette, which is a more purple tone palette. And I actually just filmed a Shadow Saturday series look with this, so I will have that linked as well. And then lastly from Morphe, I have the James Charles palette, which is, as you know, a rainbowy palette. Next, some of my favorite eyeshadow palettes are from Anastasia Beverly Hills. So first I have the Sultry palette, which is a more cool tone palette. And then I have the iconic Soft Glam palette, which, as you know, is a soft glam palette, really. And then I have the Norvina palette, which is one of my favorites. And then another one of my favorites is the Jackie Aina palette, which is my newest one. And this was also my palette of the month for May, so I will also have that video linked if you're interested. And then the brand I have the most palettes from is ColourPop. So the first one I have is Biddy, and I don't know what possessed me to buy this, but I really do love this palette, and I did a look with this and I really love the way it turned out, so I need to use this a lot more. And then I have the Soul palette, which I don't know if this is even still available anymore, but probably, well, because ColourPop discontinues their products a lot, so a few of these are not available anymore. And then I have the Lilac You a Lot, which is one of my newest ColourPop palettes. I also have Give It To Me Straight. And then Element of Surprise, which is one of my favorites, but unfortunately this is discontinued. And then I also have Sweet Talk, which is a more peachy summery palette. And Dream Street, which this is recently discontinued, sadly. So this was their collab with Kathleen Lights. And then the last one I have is it's almost like a Z palette, but it's full of all of their pressed glitters. And I know some people don't like the pressed glitters because they're not technically eye safe, but I really love glitter, so I don't mind them. I just use a glitter glue with them. And then lastly, I am going to include my single shadows in this video because they're technically in palettes. So I put these palettes together using all of my single shadows. So the majority of these are ColourPop, but some of them are also Makeup Geek. So I have a couple more warmer tone palettes put together. And then I have a purple and yellow one, which I really love this palette. I love the way this looks. And then in this last palette is kind of sad. This is just the extra that I was left with after putting those together. And then I have a little palette that I put together from Makeup Geek. So these are just Makeup Geek shadows. So that's it for this video. I kind of went rapid fire through these, so sorry if it was kind of quick. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below and I'll be sure to answer them. Also, I did the palette tag, so if you want to see kind of my thoughts on some of these palettes more in detail, I will have that linked. And I also did a part 2 for that video because there were so many good categories that people were coming up with. So I'll have both of those videos linked. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, I post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So if you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe and also hit that bell icon to get notified every time I post. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.